Hello medicos, let us start with the fifth part of first chapter, cell injury and adaptation. This is the last type of adaptation we are going to deal, which is metaplasia. Here we are going to see the definition, mechanism and the example for metaplasia. First of all, what do you understand by metaplasia? Yes, metaplasia is conversion or reprogramming of one type of mature cell to other type of mature cell. Now this stimulus can be anything, and it can be a pathological or physiological process of conversion of one type of cell to the other type, right? So what is the mechanism of the mechanism of metaplasia? So we have a stem cell, right? What do you understand by the stem cell? Stem cell is a pluripotent or multipotent cell which has the ability to divide and differentiate into other different types of cell. So this stem cell divided into other cells which has a power of differentiation. Now these cells differentiated. So here we have division, then we have differentiation. Right, so they differentiate into squamous, they differentiate into cuboidal, they differentiate into columnar, they differentiate into connective tissue, right? So what happens is, after differentiation, this cell tend to perform the same function which is appointed to it. Like a squamous cell will stay as a squamous cell until the cell dies. But what happens in metaplasia is, this one type of cell, suppose squamous cell, is converted into columnar cell. So squamous is converted to columnar. We call it as columnar metaplasia. Right. Now let us see the examples for the metaplasia. I just spoke in the previous lectures that we are going to see the examples in physiological example and other is a pathological example. So for physiological example, the example is cervix. This squamo-columnar junction in cervix. So what happens is, this is endocervix. Then we have ectocervix. Right. So these both cervix, this both endo and ectocervix has a junction which is squamo-columnar junction. And this junction tends to move upward or downwards on the basis of the hormonal changes in menstrual cycle. So as the hormonal changes occurs in the menstrual cycle, this squamo-columnar junction tends to move inside the uterus, towards the uterus, or outside towards the ectocervix. Now what is the example of, what are the pathological examples of metaplasia, which is important? Let's see. The first we have epithelial metaplasia, and other we have connective type of metaplasia. So the connective tissue example, tissue metaplasia, the example is bone in muscle. What is it? Bone in muscle. What happens is, whenever a connective tissue, for example bone, for example muscle, is injured, it heals with fibrosis. And this fibrosis, because of the deranged calcium levels in the body, will accumulate calcium, right? And after the accumulation of calcium, there will be formation of small piece of bone, which we call it as bone in muscle. Okay, so this is an example of connective tissue metaplasia. Now what about the epithelial tissue metaplasia? Yes, we have squamous metaplasia, which is a most common type of metaplasia, and then we have columnar metaplasia. So what do you understand by squamous metaplasia? Is it is seen in chronic smoker. Whenever a person is a chronic smoker, we all know from the nasal cavity till our tertiary bronchi, we have which type of epithelium? Yes, I want the answer in comment section below. Which type of epithelium we find? We find pseudo-stratified ciliated columnar epithelium, right? And after the tertiary bronchus, on the alveoli, we have squamous epithelium, right? So what happens in chronic smoker? This columnar, ciliated pseudo-stratified columnar is converted to squamous epithelium, right? So this is an example of squamous metaplasia. It is also seen in the vitamin A deficiency. It is also seen in vitamin A deficiency, right? So this is the most common type of metaplasia. Then we have columnar metaplasia. Columnar metaplasia is seen in Barrett's esophagus. Right, and this is because of GERD. What do you understand by GERD? Yes. What is the long form for GERD? Right, it is gastric esophageal reflux disease. What happens is the acid in the stomach will regurgitate or will go upwards in the esophagus where it should not be normally present. So what happens is, what is the lining of esophagus? Yes, we have stratified squamous epithelium. And what is the lining for stomach below the esophagus? Yes, it is pseudo stratified columnar with goblet cells. Okay, with goblet cell. Keep this thing in mind. So what happens in Barrett's esophagus is the squamous epithelium is converted to columnar. The squamous is converted to columnar with presence of goblet cells. Why I am saying this presence of goblet cell? The reason is that this goblet cell take up a special stain. We called it as Alcian blue stain. So the presence of this positivity of this stain will show the presence of goblet cells, and the stain is, yes, Alcian. Wait, I'll write it down in proper handwriting. Alcian blue stain, right? So this is what you understand by metaplasia. Here we are done with metaplasia and all type of cell adaptation. From next we have part 6, in which we are going to see this cell injury, reversible and irreversible type of cell injury. Thank you.